Let me go do this here. Okay. All right, guys. Long over flap and do. I probably should have led my impromptu day with a salute, tip of the hat to all of you veterans who served our country, and particularly our post-draft veterans. Not to discount or take anything away from those who were drafted. As I tipping my hat to Pacific 1-4, who was very kind and gracious to have a watch party of the Clint Eastwood films Flag of Fathers and Letters from Iwo Jima. If you guys haven't seen it for any reason, very good movie set back to back. Now, if you're up to it back to back, that'd be great. Otherwise, it's not going to hurt you to break it up. Not everyone can sit through 2 movies. So going back to tipping my hat to veterans, especially those who served in the post-draft era. Now, even though by virtue of being post-draft, we don't have the draft in the U.S., I know many countries out there still have a draft or conscription pipeline. Say what you will, I'm not going to go into that. But in principle, by having no draft, and in principle, an all voluntary military, credit has to be due for those who make that choice. And having attempted to go through that process myself and run into my share of obstacles, I tip my hat. Especially having gone through it, I believe it was 3 times. So I tip my hat to those who have taken the time, and many people have reasons to make that choice to sign up for the military. In retrospect, I don't know if my reasons were as honest. Let's see. Have you ever had mayonnaise, peanut butter I will give that a shot. I will give that a shot. Oh, I'm sorry about that. So, I will give that a shot. Thanks for the question. I will give that a shot when time allows. I do want to give a shout out because I know many people in my circle of friends, and again, it's a voluntary decision. It's a voluntary act. Everyone has their life circumstances putting them in position to make the choice, whether that's to enlist or go through the process as an officer. Particularly for those in the enlistment pipeline, many things put them in a position where whether they believe it truly at the time or not, sometimes it is the only option. Meaning that would be the better option than X. A life of this or that, or join the military for a possibly better life. So, yes. Are there harsh circumstances putting them in a position to say, I have no choice? Like the military is the better of the options I have in front of me. So knowing that, to go and walk into the recruiter's office, because I don't know what your guys' high school experience was, but being in San Diego during especially the 80s and 90s, when I was in high school, it was the 90s. And I don't know what the incentive was, but there were military guys coming into our classrooms pitching the military. Okay? So I want to give credit to those who respond to that call. And again, I don't know if my reasons were any more honest, because when I took the ASVAB with some homeboys in high school, it was just an avenue for me not to be in class. Incidentally, whatever I did on the ASVAB, I got calls left and right. Hey, we've got a job for you. Hey, you would be good here. That's one part of the occasion, or that's one part of the process. You get the whispers, you get the calls. I actually had the Navy dudes come to my house. Hello. Navy dudes coming to my house in Navy jumpsuits, telling me, yeah, you can do the job you want. You scored really high in the ASVAB. That's, again, only step one of how many steps you gotta take to go from start to finish. And I remember in my second shot, I had constant visits with the recruiters. And, you get pumped up, you go through the PT experience with would-be recruits, and going back to the entrance processing, and that's going to be something you guys have to consider, because you would go to what's called MEPS, military entrance processing. I think I forget what the P and whatever. I forgot what the S stood for, but basically you go to the facility at close to 5 a.m., if not earlier. I remember in my third shot, I stayed overnight at a hotel, and we'd be awakened at 3 or 4 in the morning, so we get to the station by 5 or 6 in the morning. And so we would be all in the office, in the facility, and we would sit, and we'd be like in a line, and we would get all of these tests. We would get blood tests. We would get vision, hearing, physical aptitude. We would be asked to do coordination drills, duck walks, and we would go through interviews. I think we would take a polygraph of some sort, but that would last almost an entire day. Like medical screening, did you ever have this? Did you ever have that? And talk about if you say yes. Can you sing Happy Birthday to Me? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear. Sorry, my night mode is on. It looks like Delight or Dwight. Happy birthday to you. God grant you many years. God grant you many years. God grant you many, many years. How many years young are you? Did you get to enjoy your day? I don't know where you are in the world, whether it's a day, it's an evening. Oh, that's too bad. I don't know what your life circumstances are, but I've been very fortunate. I have at least one friend I get to hang out with. So, I feel you. That's too bad. That's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that. Going back to tipping my hat. This is why, especially in the post-draft era of the American military, those who make that conscious decision and go through the grind of entrance, processing, and it's not a walk in the park. There's no guarantee once you get done through the entrance processing process, there's no guarantee you'll stay in the loop. I actually had a family friend, I think. He went all the way through the MEPS experience. Again, waking up at an ungodly hour in the morning, grinding up until however many hours in a day, and then You eventually get to the point of swearing in. Thanks for his service. And as I described, I'm a spoiled Navy brat. I didn't have your typical military experience. I didn't move around. I stayed in San Diego. However, my dad managed that. In some ways, I'm glad. Uh, but as far as that whole experience, like I said, there's no guarantee. Even after you swear in, you go to boot camp. There's no guarantee. Even if you say pass boot camp with flying colors in the sense of the aptitude, maybe physical tests, if you DQ, because I think I had a family friend who DQ'd because of a failed drug test, you're out. You're out. So, not just going through that. And I know there's been a lot of said, even by recruiters to this present day, because even when my dad talks to me about it and the siblings, oh, what are you studying? What are you studying? Good luck in your studies. I'm studying stuff too right now. I'm studying medical stuff. Good luck with you on that. I hope that turns out, and I hope you're able to gain experience that you can tell a prospective employer, hey, I went through the grind here and I learned this much. Very cool. So, there have been a lot of times when recruiters will do anything to get a recruit, because I don't know if we were in a quota-driven society, but there are a lot of jobs requiring quotas to be fulfilled and met. And military recruiting is no different. And so they will say whatever they gotta say within a certain boundary, and whatever that is. Because I know I've been sold a bill of goods. My dad, even when he enlisted in 1980, he was sold a bill of goods. The military is going to give you this. My dad was promised citizenship after 4 years of service. He actually got it maybe 10 or 11 years after the fact. So, you know, they got to do what they got to do. I get it. And then it's not done yet, because you got to go through, I think some terms is A school, or schools for your job or your rating in Navy terms. I don't know if Navy still uses the term rating, but I know branches like the Marines, the Army, maybe the Air Force. I don't know. I think Coast Guard uses rating as the term, but it's basically the school for the job you've been assigned in the military. And that's the other thing too. You're not guaranteed the job you want to get. That's the other thing my dad had to swallow. The pill my dad had to swallow. He was supposedly promised the job of an engineer, and he ended up. His track was he started off as a molder, then ended up as a welder towards the end of his career, which was kind of a cover because he ended up teaching other sailors and chiefs how to use Microsoft Office applications. So after all of that, you still got to take your job class, your rating class, and make the grade. And then maybe you'll have a solid career depending on the kind of contract you sign. Whether that's a 2.5 year, or when I tried doing intelligence and I had this stupid ambitious idea I wanted to go into special ops. That was a de facto 5-year contract. And so, particularly in the enlistment pipeline, that is tough. And of course, then you have the grind, like my dad had the grind when he was serving, being out to sea during parts of the year, being on what's called duty, where you're on the ship overnight. Well, kudos to your grandpa. I apologize I didn't address your comment sooner. My dad. The only thing he did wartime wise was the Gulf War, but if memory serves, that war didn't last very long. It was quite short, if I remember. Cool. So, as far as that whole experience of being a veteran, and I don't know if it's true, but it seems difficult for any serviceman or woman if they don't get the right support, whether from their direct leadership or those around them, particularly when they don't make it a career. Because I know some who've made it a career, and I know some who haven't. Like my buddy found out last year or whenever that was, he didn't renew his contract as a Marine, even as a reservist. He felt like it didn't seem worth the trouble given his age now. So some servicemen and women are attuned to transitional processes when they leave. Some are not. I don't know if that's on the heads of leadership, on the heads of peers, or whoever needs to tell them this. This is what you would want to do when you get out. So I empathize with those who don't get the right support group. However, my dad managed to do that. He was in a milieu, like I mentioned, he was in a milieu of folks who talked about that stuff all the time. They gave him material when he was about to retire. They gave him material to transition from a non commissioned officer, or he was chief petty officer in the Navy, and he was given all this material so he can prepare for life after the Navy. Some people don't get that material. Some people don't get that support. Some people aren't told what they can do with their benefit, like a GI Bill, especially when 9/11 rolled around and there was likely a big recruitment drive given the war effort. So I empathize with a lot of veterans who were given the shaft after their service for whatever reason. And Jocko Willink made a point. He interviewed, forgot what position he had with the VA, but he was likely a higher up. That he had pointed out the successes and the failures of the VA leadership. It works when the leadership is on point, and it doesn't work when the leadership is not on point. So I empathize with those veterans who haven't had the best post career transition. And I know the attraction is for those who signed on for the reserves is you get that dual role where you serve your country and you do the performance of the MOS, again, MOS, Army, Marines, Air Force, and rating in the Navy or Coast Guard, that you do your role. You do your role as a veteran or as a uniformed serviceman or servicewoman, and then you do your civilian job. You get that you get that double dip going, with respect. So that way, when you get out, I don't know if they're given resources like USA Jobs. I think that's what it is. USAJobs.gov, things like that. And there is a thing like veterans preference, particularly depending on what job you want to get. Like a lot of government jobs, law enforcement, you'll get easily veterans preferences when it comes to hiring. And I perish to think that veterans who make that transition, they don't get told that enough. And so I don't know who to put that responsibility on. But again, I want to tip my hat as a son of a Navy chief, retired Navy chief. I want to give them a tip of my hat and a thank you, especially since I was trying to be one of those. And so I have my own way of extending my sense of service, my servant's heart. I have my way of doing that, and I've expressed where that happens. So I hope I didn't go on too long. I want to give a shout out to all the veterans out there before the night really ends, and I got to get some shut eye. So many thanks. Keep doing your thing. Ask around. Get all the information you need, especially when it comes to that point where push comes to shove. Because I know growing up in a military household, not the easiest existence. Not the easiest existence, for sure. I might have had it easier than most military kids, but it's still a struggle. You're more or less a child of a single parent household, depending what kind of job your parent did. Because I know many classmates of mine whose mom was in the military and the dad worked a civilian job. So it's equally hard for either parent. So particularly if you feel the grind isn't worth the extension of your enlistment, or if you feel like you got to resign your commission on the officer side, ask those questions. Help me out. What are my resources as I transition out of uniformed service? Particularly if you feel like your job you've done in the military isn't exactly translatable into the civilian landscape. Hopefully you have the people around you that can squeeze out whatever juice out of whatever lemon you find yourself in. That way you can sell yourself to any employer and really bring out what the military has to offer people, from when they sign on as a private, an ensign, or just a bottom level, you might call it a bottom level grunt in whatever job you've been asked to do, for whether that's a 2-year commitment or a 5-year commitment or a 12-year commitment after having re-upped your enlistment. Because I know hopefully you can put that on paper somewhere and extol what you learned from your military experience. So again, much kudos. Keep doing your thing if you're on that path, making the military a career, and hopefully when you hang them up, you can transition to a happy retirement or another career in the civilian world. So as always, peace out, and I'll catch you all on the other side.